I think that you'll be able to buy a single family median price home with a case or two of Silver Eagles. Hi, this is Mike Maloney, and I've got Jeff Clark on the line with me, the senior precious metals analyst of goldsilver.com. And he's got some frequently asked questions from viewers. So how are you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing great, Mike. It's great to be back with you again. And yes, we do get a lot of questions from customers. And here's one that we've been getting a lot, especially from newcomers, and that is this. Who's going to buy my gold and silver when I go to sell it? So someday we will be exiting the industry. We will be selling a large portion of our gold and silver. But who's going to buy it? Because in the environment you see ahead, the economy is going to be struggling. Unemployment's going to be high. People might have low income. They may not be able to afford gold and silver. So, Mike, who's going to buy it when we go to sell?
Well, hopefully, if you're a savvy investor, you're going to be selling when everybody wants it. That's when the price peak comes. And so any dealer will buy it. Goldsilver.com will always buy it. If there's a peak happening and there's a rush into gold and silver, that's when it's very difficult for any dealer to source it. And so if somebody sells, that's great. For the dealer can then buy it and sell it to somebody else. Another thing that you can do is if we're in a real crisis and people aren't trusting the dollar, you could actually go into somebody selling their home with a case or a couple cases of Silver Eagles or tubes of gold Eagles, and you have to monetize it by putting a price on it. They're selling their home for so many dollars. And so for tax reporting purposes, you have to declare the value. But it's okay for you to actually purchase a home with gold or silver. And there was Ted Butler's mentor, Ziggy Freeman, I think his name was, actually did this. In 1980, he bought a house with silver. And really did very, very well on this trade. So there's a couple of ways of getting in and out of this, but when it comes to selling, it's nothing to worry about. The dealers will always buy, and there is always somebody to sell to at a certain price. It's one of the most liquid assets that you can have. It's actually more liquid than stocks at certain periods of time.
I just want to expand on that idea that demand is going to be very, very high. So even though some people may be unemployed or have low income or something like that, remember, it's going to be one of the few assets that can actually save someone financially. If the stock environment is weak, if bonds are weak, if the dollar's creating, if real estate's rolled over, gold and silver may be one of the very few assets that's performing well. This has happened many times in the past. We saw lines outside of dealers at the peak in 1980, in 2011. From 2009 to 2011, we saw a huge rush in demand. We saw a rush in demand here back in March. So there were many, many more buyers than there were sellers, and that will happen again, as history has shown. So, and just a quick tax reminder, if you do sell your gold and silver for a profit, remember there are tax consequences. So even though you can trade it for a house, potentially, you are responsible for any taxes. And we do have an article on our website that goes into that. So just a friendly reminder on that. But boy, what an exciting thing to think about, that you could actually buy a house with a few mint cases of silver.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. But if it goes to the same gold-silver ratio and gold goes to the same gold real estate ratio, yeah, you'll be able to walk in. I think that you'll be able to buy a single-family median price home with a case or two of Silver Eagles because that's what you could do back in 1980. It's interesting. I've got something called wealth cycles, where I measure all of the asset classes against each other instead of using the dollar. And what you see is that nothing actually goes up. Everything is trapped in this valuation range where it goes overvalued, undervalued compared to the gold silver ratio. If you look at it, it's done this, but the Dow gold ratio, the stock market against gold, how many ounces of gold is one share of the Dow worth. And if you flip that upside down, you've got how many shares of stock 1 ounce of gold is worth. And when you do that, you notice that they don't really go anywhere over the long run, but there are times when one is overvalued compared to the other. And we are still undervalued on gold and overvalued on all of the other asset classes. So I do think that you're going to be able to go in and buy a house for just a case or two, single family median price home. But when it comes to taxes, that's the reason I moved to Puerto Rico. I've got an Act 22, and so I've got a tax exemption with the government here, where I pay no capital gain on investments. So for me, I don't have any taxes. Now, when you're buying, one of the things that people ask about is, if I'm buying, is there any reporting? And no, you can buy $1 billion worth of gold and you don't have to report it to the government. So, and we don't have to report it. But when you sell back, there's certain items and certain quantities that we do have to report. So I would suggest reading Jeff's article on it. But the thing is, you no longer have it at that point, so it doesn't matter. You just have to declare your taxes, because there's certain things where we have to file a 1099-B broker reporting with the IRS, and then your tax return has to match that. And those are the rules. There are certain products that are exempt from that. And so, and actually there are certain, if we do reporting on something that the IRS says is exempt, we sort of get in trouble for filing unnecessary paperwork. So it's worth taking a look at all that, but it's nothing for people to worry about when it comes to selling, as long as they're planning on reporting their gains on their taxes. Don't worry about the reporting on items, because nobody knows that you have it when you have it. The government only finds out that you had it after you've sold it. So, and
yes.
then don't try to cheat on your taxes. That's playing cat and mouse with the IRS, and you've got to remember just who is the mouse in this situation.
That's very true. Good point. Well, I'm glad you brought up wealth cycles. You've done a video on that before. We'll link to that here. And I know you're also writing on it as well, so we'll look forward to that. But for those of you that are relatively new or have questions on this topic, get Mike's book, because he goes into a lot of this. He updated it in the last few years. It addresses a lot of these topics, a lot of these questions, and it would be very fruitful for someone to really dive into that and get a lot of information out of it. goldsilver.com/free book, and you could get Mike's best-selling, still to this day, it's the bestseller on investing in gold and silver, and you can get it for free. So, Mike, thanks for joining me on this video, and we'll see you at the next one.
Okay, thanks, Jeff.